Okay, so first is really just to say thank you for giving feedback, because when you go through an experience like this, you're also reflecting on a journey that you've been on. But I want to start right at the beginning. I want to ask you, Judit, when we first started to work with each other, what would have been like, if you think about it, your biggest fear at the time to even get started?
Oh my God, I think for me, the biggest fear was a bit that it would be too overwhelming
Yeah,
and that it would go too much into directions which I'm not sure I'm ready or I'm willing to go to.
yeah,
And at the end, I realized that it was very much according to my pace, but
yeah.
absolutely not like I have imagined it.
Yeah. And I always find that there's a moment before you sign up to work with me where you hesitate. But then you go, okay, I'm going to go. What for you was the moment where you went, okay, I'm all in?
I think it was exactly at the meeting when we met for lunch and when I was just like, I had absolutely no intention of getting a coach. I had no intention. And it was just like really the whole process was, and because we are speaking here of energy, I find this with you and the whole experience was so aligned that it was never really forced. And what was for me important, that it was never something which was like, when you put it, it was not a business plan. It was not something very structured, but it was something which came very, very naturally and which was like this automatic decision, like how you know what flavor of ice cream you choose. You don't plan it ahead of time, but you're standing there, you see the options and you know exactly what you want to go for. And this was very much this experience for me. So that each and every point it was, and I didn't need it to use extra energy for it. I
Yes.
didn't need it to plan, to prepare, but it all came to me in a very, very flow kind of way. Like,
Organic.
yeah, this is what I need to talk about. Yes, this is what I need to go ahead with it.
Yeah.
And I think it was really good, and that's what I would encourage others to experience. That it was really just this gut feeling and this emotional feeling, like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is what I feel like.
And I think that really plays to your strength to be able to use your brain, but also to tap into that gut instinct that we all have, those primal instincts. So looking back now, what would you say the top three results that you would have had on the Health Concierge?
I think one of the top results which came to me in the past couple of days, which were like quite tough for me, and I had sometimes this thing came to my mind, like, okay, when I will speak with Elika, I will tell her this, or I would write it down to her in a WhatsApp message or whatever. And then I realized, like, no, 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 because she was never that. So it was not a comforting blanket. It was not this kind of friendly hug which I can go to,
Yeah.
because this is where my journal is for. But
Yeah.
it was this nudge all along the way which really helped me to leapfrog. So
Mm.
I think for me, one of the biggest thing is that the whole experience was not a crutch,
Yes.
but it was a way to speed up my own process,
Yeah.
and which really taught me to walk on my own.
Beautiful. So
And
what do you think you see that others might not see if they were considering going out there and getting that guidance?
I think is that because, and I also had this perception at the beginning that this will be something like, like I'm telling what's going on, like similar to what I'm doing with friends. And then I get like, oh, yeah, 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 I'm feeling
Yeah.
you. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you're feeling bad. Maybe you should do this and that. But it was absolutely not like that. And I still need to wrap my head around it. Like, I don't know exactly at what point what it was,
Yeah.
but it was that exactly at that time you could give me that insight, that story, or that technique, or that one thing which I needed, and not exactly the technique itself, but which I needed to step forward and to see
Beautiful.
things in a different way. And I just know that I'm a complete changed person after this 3 months experience, and I learned so much, and it really changed my complete perspective. So it was a complete rewiring process
Yeah.
instead of a kind of fixing. And I think this is also a main key takeaway which came to me, that it's a completely rewiring, not fixing the faulty cables, but
Yeah.
it's setting a complete new
Wow.
space.
I love that way of looking at it too. Really good. So what I would say that maybe the top two objections that people have when they don't feel that they can invest and go on to this process is probably time or money. What would you how would you speak to that for that person that's going, oh my God, I need to do something, but time and money seems to be their biggest objection?
Concerning time, it's very easy because I also don't have too much time. And for me, it was at the beginning, I was like afraid that, okay, I need to prepare, I need to do all this journaling and so on. But it came very, very naturally. And it really didn't consume any time of me. And I could still, and because it's completely changing the whole way how you see things and how you do things, you don't necessarily need time. Because back then mindset, I would have like planned and so on and okay, and now I'm dedicating this much time, and right now I see that it's just coming very, very naturally, and I don't need to plan, and I don't need to put energy, unnecessary energy into planning that time for that. So I think the whole process, this comes very naturally. So this is not something which I think someone should worry about, because this is exactly why you would go and ask for this service, because it helps you manage your energy and with that your time. In terms of the money aspect, I think it is expensive, but it is an investment into yourself. And that's how I saw it at the beginning, because yes, when you told me the amount, I was like, oh my God, yes, but then I thought that it's also this commitment which you take. And it's not, I thought it at some point at the very beginning, I was like, okay, I need to make this work because I put a lot of money into it. But then I realized like, no, it's not, it's not the willingness, it's happening anyway. And I feel that it was a really, really good investment. And I see that I have much more returns compared to the really like, and I am a very masculine planning mind. So in that terms of like, what are the returns? I think it was absolutely worth it. And it's really, and I feel that this is something which is an investment into myself. And into my own self-care and self-love. And this shows my appreciation towards myself. And I think that's a very, very important step in self-development and self-growth, that we learn to love ourselves and appreciate ourselves. And this is something which I kind of gave as a present to myself.
It's really interesting, I think, with that one, because, you know, they'll set up their businesses and they'll invest in like their websites and their, you know, big printers and all these flashy things that are part of the business, but that same amount of money, they won't invest in themselves. And yet they've got to make every single decision on their business and their life. And so it's really interesting that I really know that what people really just want is value. They want to know if I spend 1,000, I get 3,000 back. And sometimes it's hard to see that at the beginning, but think when you've gone through a process like this, like me, I mean, spent hundreds of thousands on my self-growth. It's really easy then to go, actually, what I wanted was to make sure I get a return on my investment, right? Well, I just want to say, Judit, thank you so much for trusting me to guide you in this process. It's always a lot easier when the person has really decided that they want it and that they're open to receive, and then, you know, they can be guided. And I just think that I really appreciate the trust that you've put into me to allow, you know, me to be your trusted advisor and to guide you in your journey as well.
Thank you so much.
No problem.